Hello there. Welcome to the final episode of Season 5 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. This is episode 45. Welcome back to Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I am salacious to be from. No, I'm Jacob. Just
He
kidding.
pulled it
I
on
pulled
me.
an Eli.
He pulled it on me this time.
I pulled the Uno reverse card.
No, you. Anyway, so, in our season finales, if you don't know, we usually like to go through the what we covered and talk about our overall thoughts, and that's what we're going to do for season 2 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars today.
Yes,
Minus a
let's
couple
do
of
it.
episodes because we didn't watch.
Because reasons.
Because we haven't watched Senate Murders because chronology, and we already watched Cat and Mouse with season 1 because chronology. Yeah, but let's talk about the overall thoughts for this season in comparison to 1 and what the season does for the Clone Wars. Jacob, why don't you take us away on this one?
All right, yeah. So some of my overall thoughts. I think that the number one thing that comes to my mind, if I had to describe season 2 in one sentence, maybe it would be like, it's just like season 1, but it's just kicked up a notch.
That's exactly
in
what
so
I'd
many
say.
ways. It's just like it's not a lot. But they're definitely kicking it up a notch. I don't think the animation changed or really improved as much as I expected it to this season. But that wasn't a huge gripe for me.
And
we
like
get
landing
a
at
little
Point
bit more
Range.
mature themes. Yeah, we get some more mature themes, definitely, like Brain Invaders, for example. We get some pretty intense moments and storylines. But I just think overall, as a season, it feels kind of scattered, and it almost feels less consistent and more all over the place, at least from my perspective, than season 1 does. But it definitely delivers a lot of classic episodes, so I'm not complaining.
It's definitely a better season than season 1 overall. It has better episodes, in my opinion. I was ranking all of these stuff. We're gonna show about our rankings. Season 2 episodes dominate the higher rankings, and there are a lot of season 1 episodes in the lower rankings. That shouldn't be a surprise. I will say, my favorite episode of the Clone Wars comes from season 2, and my least favorite episode of the Clone Wars comes from season 2. So that says a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because I think that we might have opposite perspectives, because I think that although the overall baseline for the quality of the episodes and for what they deliver feels like season 2 definitely raised the bar, I feel that overall, I think, at least for me, I find that I have a lot more affection for some of the episodes from season 1. And although season 2 does have a few, in my opinion, I mean, it has many classic episodes, but for me at least, I think there are fewer episodes in season 2 that truly stuck with me than season 1, which surprised me when I was thinking about this. I mean, yeah, obviously it's very subjective, which ones you like and which ones you don't. But I want to put that out there. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, no, I would disagree with that. I think there are a lot of more stuff that sticks with me. But let's go, because we can't avoid talking about this any longer. Let's talk about rankings. So Jacob and I did a separate ranking for season 1 of Star Wars, The Clone Wars. So Jacob, why don't you go bottom to top and talk about your list? Don't give thoughts. Just go bottom to top. Number, I think that's 20 to number 1. This is a rank out of 20 because there are 20 episodes in this season. I mean, not really
Right.
20, but like 20 we watched. Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
Let's do it. So you want me to go from bottom to top?
Yes.
In my number 20th spot, last place, unfortunately, it was Bounty Hunters. In number 19, Holocron Heist. In 18th, for me, The Zillo Beast. 17, R2 Come Home. 16th was The Zillo Beast Strikes Back, or as my autocorrect would like to say, The Zillion Beast Strikes Back. In 15, Senate Spy. And in 14th, Death Trap. In 13th, Voyage of Temptation. And this is where the episodes kind of, for me, go from ambivalent to really positive. In 12th, Lethal Trackdown. In 11th, Children of the Force. 10th spot went to Brain Invaders for me. The 9th place spot went to Duchess of Mandalore. In 8th, I had The Mandalore Plot. In 7th, I had Lightsaber Lost. In 6th, I had Cargo of Doom. I like that one a lot. In fifth, I had Grievous Intrigue. In fourth, Landing at Point Rain. In second, or
And
in
third.
third, Legacy of Terror. In second, Weapons Factory. And in first, Eli, you're gonna like this, The Deserter.
Okay, let me read you my list, which is almost radically different in every single way. Big surprise.
Right.
Jacob and I are in a galaxy are very similar in Star Wars taste. Oh wait, okay, here we go. Here we go. Number 20, in no shock to you, I'm sure, Jacob. Number 20, Brain Invaders. Number 19, Legacy of Terror. Number 18, Senate Spy. Number 17, Cargo of Doom. Number 16, Landing at Point Rain. Number 15, Duchess of Mandalore. Number 14, Death Trap. Number 13, Holocron Heist. Number 12, Weapons Factory. Number 11, Voyage of Temptation. Number 10, Children of the Force. Number 9, Lightsaber Lost. Number 8, R2 Come Home. Number 7, The Mandalore Plot. Number 6, Grievous Intrigue. Number 5, The Zillo Beast. Number 4, Lethal Trackdown. Number 3, The Zillo Beast Strikes Back. Number 2, Bounty Hunters. And in a surprise to absolutely no one, number 1, The Deserter. So
solid list. I'm very surprised. Yeah, we definitely
we
differ there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through maybe compare notes?
Yeah. So we have these lists pulled up right now. Let's talk about 2 episodes that determine our list. I want to talk about Bounty Hunters and Legacy of Terror.
Yes.
Because Bounty Hunters on my list is number 2. On Jacob's, it's dead last. On Jacob's list, Legacy of Terror is number 3. And on my list, Legacy of Terror is second to last.
Should we talk about Bounty Hunters first?
Yeah. This is nostalgia for me. It's the number 2. A lot of it is nostalgia. I've watched this episode the most times I've watched any episode on this list. And it's always stuck with me. I always love Embo and Sugi and Serapis' characters. I'm so interested by the themes, the very, of course, Kurosawa themes in these episodes because it was dedicated to him because, of course, the whole Seven Samurai parallels. Yeah. I love the repeating themes in this episode. That's what I'll say about Bounty Hunters. Jacob, why did you place Bounty Hunters so low?
I thought that as far as the themes went that it portrayed, I thought that it felt pretty undercooked, and I thought it could have done a lot more. Also, I thought that the whole question that they were kind of posing about the Jedi and getting involved, it just felt a little bit tired and a little bit tone deaf, considering the fact that, you know, they were juxtaposing it against these bounty hunters, and it just didn't really work for me. So I think that's why it kind of plays slow, and the whole thing just felt a tad cliche. Plus, you know, I hate to see my boy Hondo take a loss. So it was a hard watch for me. But yeah, Hondo or no Hondo, it just didn't really do it for me. But I can see why you might have liked it. You know.
Yeah, it's a nostalgia thing a lot for me. Let's talk about Legacy of Terror.
All right, Legacy of Terror. I guess I'll go first since I like this one.
Yeah.
I put it at number 3 because, man, the feeling that I got from that episode was kind of unmatched throughout the rest of the season. Just the kind of the just always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Just kind of not really horror, but just so much suspense, so much anticipation. Just the feelings of constantly having the rug pulled out from under you in terms of what you think is going to happen and what you think is possible, and just the way that it feels like you're constantly just having these layers of anticipation and layers of fear and mystery being peeled back like layers on an onion. Ogres have layers. I really just I love that about this, and you know, I think I would have placed it higher, but I think that Karina the Great for me was kind of underwhelming. The way she ended up just speaking English and was just kind of a screechy voice, and she wasn't really that scary. But yeah, I loved like the mystery aspect of it. Like from the very moment they set foot inside the Progate Temple, I was like, I have goosebumps. This is a very special episode, at least for me.
Yeah. For me,
So,
this
what did you think of
episode
it?
boils down to one thing. There's only so much you can get me to care about Geonosis.
Because it just gets irradiated pretty much in the end.
It's like landing at Point Rain is really interesting. And again, I think I have a positive opinion about more of these episodes than Jacob does. Because I think you said around 11 or 12 is when they start getting positive for you.
Yeah, I
Number
think it
19
might be even higher.
is when it gets positive for me. I like all of these 19 episodes to varying degrees. Brain Invaders is really the only one I dislike of all of them. But Legacy of Terror, it's like we've done the Point Rain stuff. That's interesting. We're being outnumbered. The Geonosians are smarter than we thought they were. Weapons Factory is good because of the themes and the teamwork and the letting go. That's all interesting. Legacy of Terror is an interesting episode, and I like the ideas of how the Geonosians are trying to reconstruct themselves after their losses at the first Battle of Geonosis. It's just like I don't really care anymore. It's like I can't really find good enough reasons to care about Geonosis anymore. I feel like my reaction to this feels like a lot of people's reactions about Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker. Well, I know a lot of people are like, Palpatine really again? And I was like, Geonosis really again? It's like, let's do something new now. Let's do something interesting and creative and weird. That's why, actually, jumping ahead to another point I want to make, the Zillo Beast episodes are so high for me. The Zillo Beast is weird. The Zillo Beast goes to places.
Yeah,
Legacy of Terror doesn't for me.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I see why you like it though.
I may not sympathize with your point of view, but I certainly empathize with the feeling of wanting something different and feeling as though you're not getting that.
Yeah. Also, let's talk about the Zillo Beast. Go back to that. Why are they so low on your list?
Okay, the Zillo Beast. How about you go first, since we're going positive first?
I already kind of mentioned it.
Yeah, you had the Zillo Beast. What ranking did you put them in? Pretty high up, right?
Strikes Back at 3, first one at 5. And you put Strikes Back at 16 and regular Beast at 17. I know, at 18. Yeah, I like it's another nostalgia thing. I've watched these episodes feels like a couple dozen times, but I like the creativity. I really like it's like we've never seen Malice there. We've never seen Godzilla in Star Wars. And I like how it's not just regular Godzilla. It's like Godzilla with a point. You know what I mean? It's Godzilla with moral consequences. I really am interested in that. And that is why I love the Zillo Beast episodes.
Yeah, I think maybe I was a little harsh on them because I think there were definitely aspects of them that I liked, but overall it just felt kind of tainted, I want to say, by the way that like many things in the Clone Wars, over it all stands Palpatine's long shadow. And I think that nowhere was this more apparent than here. I just felt that I don't know, the way that they implemented him into it left me both wanting more from him and also not wanting him to be involved. It feels as though they just kind of used him as a way to up the stakes without really trying. Just by it felt like they were just kind of like waving Palpatine around like a baseball bat, like you're trying to threaten someone with a baseball bat. Like, oh, it's Palpatine. What's he gonna do? He has a lust for power. What's he gonna do? And I feel like he didn't do enough to justify. They didn't really act on that, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I think that these episodes would be a lot higher up on my list if Palpatine didn't really factor in, because I feel that the way Palpatine was kind of standing there, at least in a narrative, not literally standing there, but in a narrative sense, just kind of standing in the back the whole time, trying to add this kind of element of urgency. It just didn't really work for me. It felt like it distracted from the main goal, and it added almost this element of artificiality because you know that Palpatine's pulling all the strings anyways, and it would have been more interesting, from my opinion, if we'd got to see what happened if no one was pulling the strings and it was just playing out.
Interesting. I actually disagree because on that point, because I think Palpatine in that episode, he wasn't pulling the strings really. Like, he was trying as hard as he could, but it wasn't the few situations where he really wasn't in control, and that utterly fascinates me. But I see where you're coming from. Definitely see where you're coming from on the whole. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else you want to talk about on this list?
Let's see. I remember there were some pretty big discrepancies between the two.
Yeah, mostly
Ones
there
that we
were
had.
with Geonosis and Zilla Beast. It feels like.
Yeah, we kind of touched on those. I think.
Yeah.
What else? I think Holocron Heist was one that was a big difference. I can't see.
It's 13 on my list. It's 19 on yours.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that much of a difference.
Grievous Intrigue, that was very similar actually.
Yeah, Grievous Intrigue was one slot higher on your list.
I'm interested to hear, I guess, from your perspective. I guess we heard a little bit about this, but why is Cargo of Doom so far down your list?
Because it all takes place on a ship.
What do you mean by that?
The entire episode takes place in space on a ship, and that doesn't draw me. What?
Okay, that's fair.
And that
I guess that's part of what I liked about it. So
yeah,
that's fair.
It's like Cat and Mouse for season 1. Cat and Mouse is 5th to last on mine, and it's like 10th on yours.
You're right.
Because I can't stand episodes that just take place on a ship. I find it a little unimaginative.
Personally, I love it. I love when they can kind of put all the story that they need into a small little environment. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
One other one I want to touch upon before we move on from this. Let's talk about Duchess of Mandalore.
Ooh, yeah.
It's number 9 on your list. It's number 15 on mine, which is not huge, but it's pretty big. What'd you like about it so much?
I like that it just felt like a breath of fresh air after the way that I felt this kind of. I feel like every season, at least from season 2 on, just kind of has here we go. Here it's time for Mandalore. You know, like every season there's kind of a mid to late season Mandalore arc, and
except for 6 from this point onward.
Except for 6, yeah, but you get 2, 3, 4, 5. Like it's a solid 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Yeah, so it's most of them. Yeah. And I thought that this was by far the weakest of any of the Mandalore arcs, but I feel that the Duchess of Mandalore was for me, but I think I put the Mandalore plot on top of the Duchess of Mandalore.
Indeed, you did. But I put I put Mandalore plot above Mandalore plot and Duchess of Mandalore for both of yours. But I put Duchess of Mandalore quite lower.
You know, I just think that I enjoyed kind of seeing Satine's very good, horrible, no good, bad day. I think it kind of really added a lot of dimension to her character, especially immediately following an episode where she was completely kind of in control the whole time.
It's interesting because I feel the exact opposite, believe it or not. I feel like the no good, horrible, very bad day. In the same way you dislike Palpatine in the Zillaby stuff, I feel like they just kind of, it becomes a little bit too much sometimes. They're like, oh, and we're going to add this to Satine's bad day. Oh, and now we're going to add this. And now she's blamed for a murder that she obviously did not commit. Oh, wait, and now this is going to happen. You know what I mean? It's like they're constantly just finding new ways to make Satine's day worse. And it's just like, come on already, really?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that, from my perspective, I liked it also because looking at Palpatine here, this is one of the few times he actually creates. I mean, obviously he's a huge propagandist, but this is one of the few times, at least in the Clone Wars, at this point in time, that he actually creates propaganda directly and like lies to the Senate. Is one of the few times when he doesn't just twist the truth, or he doesn't just manipulate things so that other people like look super bad just by their own actions because of the way he's set things up. This is one of the few times I feel like when he actually introduces something into the mix directly. So I think that it's kind of remarkable for that alone. And I really like that about it. And one other thing I want to talk about How about landing at Point Rain? I'm interested to hear your take.
It's with I just didn't find the Geonosis arc as inspiring as you did. That's
I
really it.
think I got
It,
to rant about the Geonosis arc for a minute
it
now because I think this is where we differ, and
yeah.
and
Your Geonosis is my Zillow Beast.
yeah, I would say that. I think for me at least, this is the Geonosis arc for me is it's probably my favorite part of this season by far. It's an absolute classic to me. I think it's quintessential Clone Wars, and it's one of the few times in the Clone Wars, like surprisingly few, when we actually get like the huge, like gigantic scale battles and just get to see like all out warfare, just carnage, droids and clones, Jedi and more droids, I guess, just completely going at it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that despite the Clone Wars and despite the setting, we actually don't see as much of it as you might think if you just think of the show off the top of your head.
And I
So I
actually
think
think
it's
that's
cool just to have a full-on military battle once in a while, and I think that this is one of the very best.
and I think that's why you and I differ because I don't like that as much.
Yeah,
I was
totally.
rewatching for trivia purposes recently Umbara. Man, let me tell you, I
Mm.
was bored with that arc until the fourth episode came.
What?
Yeah, wasn't doing it for me. And I totally get why you love it, and I totally get why so many people love it. It just wasn't doing it for me. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
totally.
lie to you. I like the more intrapersonal arcs. I like the arcs that get outside of the war. That's why Zillow Beast I love so much.
That's why you love
Yeah,
Zilla Beast, yeah.
yeah. I get it's really yeah. It this these two lists more than anything for me undertone Jacob and my tastes in Star Wars because
Oh, absolutely.
because I like the stuff outside the war, the personal stuff. Jacob's like vehicles, sure. Battles, sure.
Okay, I mean maybe that's not how I would categorize
And I'm not saying that's
myself
a bad thing
entirely.
either. It's
I know
just our
I'm
preferences.
saying I don't love I love the more calm stories, the more subtle things too. Not everything has to be a raging conflict, but
Yeah.
I was just saying that just this once, I think it's like it's like that meme. Forgive me, my master. I'll have to go all out just this once. It felt like the animators were saying to Filoni on this and this arc, just let us go all out just this once. Maximum explosions, maximum laser bolts. Come on, let us
Yeah.
do this, please.
Yeah. And it's
That's
interesting.
what
I
it felt
just
like for
think
me.
it just doesn't. It's not interesting for enough time for me.
No,
Um,
yeah, I
I
totally get
I
that.
will say one thing I love about this list. This list is beautiful just because of one thing. Both of us have the deserter at number one, which is beautiful. Um, I gotta love that. Should we get on to the next part of our review of season two?
Yeah, let's do it.
Best episode and moment. Well, let's do both. Best episode and moment. Um, so you know, both of us is the same for best episode and moment. Not moment. Sorry, just for best episode. Both of us are the
Yeah,
same. It's the deserter.
yeah,
Go ahead first for
absolutely.
you, because I want to hear your opinion about why this episode is so great.
Eli, you have turned me into a disciple of the deserter. You had so many good things to say about it when we were reviewing it, and I was just like, man, this makes so much sense now. Like maybe I didn't get this episode before, but now, oh boy, it is a classic. I just love this one. I really think it does a good job, as you say, of like portraying the narrative of choice and loyalty, and there's just so much there. And again, you get another really suspenseful battle. So it's not exactly short on action, but I think it makes it a really balanced episode to me.
Yeah,
It just is it's perfectly well balanced, and even though it takes place within the context of Grievous intrigue, I feel like it could be served just as well by cutting out the beginning and end and just making it about from
a
the moment
standalone
Rex gets
episode.
sniped.
Yeah,
Yeah, it could be just from the moment Rex gets sniped
I think
to the moment that
that
they
he
rejoin
leaves.
the group and leave the farm. Yeah.
I'm
And
pretty
and it could be
sure.
just as much an
Yeah,
episode.
I'm pretty sure I watched it as a standalone for the first time. Pretty much. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Um,
it is pretty much a
I
standalone to me.
was listening to a recent episode of A Large View of the Force. Constantly plug those people. Force, great. But former guest of this show, and former guest of that show, Meg Dowell was on, and she was talking about her obsession with the Rebels episode Trials of the Darksaber. She's like, there's few things I think of in Star Wars as much as Trials of the Darksaber and the Darksaber and Sabine. And I'm like, with me, there are two things I think of the most in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker and The Deserter. I've converted you on one. I'm gonna try and do the other soon. I'm joking mostly. But yeah, those two things, Rise of Skywalker and The Deserter. I just keep finding new things in both of them. It's magical for me. Yeah, I've always had a huge attachment to The Deserter as an episode because, again, if you want to know the full reasons, check out A Lesson of Choice, episode 42 of Star Wars and Galaxy, where I rant about it for a lot. But it's an option that I never even considered, because you don't consider it, because you are in these clones' heads as much as they are in them. You don't consider the fact of a clone leaving the army. No, that's not what they do. They don't leave the army. That's not an option until it is an option. Roughly, very briefly, that is why The Deserter is my favorite episode of the Clone Wars in general, but season 2. Yeah. What's your favorite moment from this season? It does not have to be from The Deserter. It can be from anything this season.
What was your favorite moment? Or I guess I'll hear it in a minute. So
my favorite moment has got to be, I think it's going to be, I'm gonna say it. It was always gonna be from The Deserter for me. But my favorite moment this season was the name conversation that Cut and Rex have.
Yeah.
The entire conversation around that dinner table before they go play Sabacc, that is beautiful. That is like just pure Star Wars right there. I mean, if Dave Filoni just did that one thing, he would be a badass.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. My favorite moment would have to be at the end of Voyage of Temptation. It's at the end of it must be at the end of Duchess of Mandalore when Duchess Satine is getting back on her ship and she's leaving, and she and Obi-Wan have to part ways again, and they've kind of had this really interesting, deep but also very tumultuous reunion, and that for me is just a great moment. It's so kind of emotionally charged but also fraught between the two of them. How like the spark has kind of been reignited, but they're both so committed to their causes that they can't be together, and then they see that they maybe they've lost some respect for each other. There's just so much swirling emotion there. It's like they're at the eye of this giant hurricane of feelings. It's just awesome the way. Yeah, I could go on about what's in that moment, but I think we discussed that with the Indomitable Maggie Lovett in our previous episodes. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna leave it there. It's a great moment though. It's a very good I think. And it leaves you wanting more and looking towards the future.
Absolutely.
Which I love as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have next on our
worst moment and worst episode? We'll do worst episode first. You discussed why Bounty Hunters fell flat for you. So
yeah, I discussed why Bounty Hunters fell flat, but yeah, I don't like Bounty Hunters.
Brain Invaders. Simple reason for me. I'm very sensitive with scary things, and watching that episode would make me throw up in my mouth. I'm sorry, it just would. I can't do it.
Well, that's fair. You gotta know yourself.
Yeah, I'm very squeamish, so I can't watch the episode with a straight face. Yeah, let's get on to worst moment. If you need to think of one, Jacob, I got one.
Yeah, you can
okay.
Say yours first, yeah.
My least favorite moment, my worst moment, is from the episode Senate Spy. It's when Rush Clovis keeps trying to kiss Padme in the ship, but then Anakin shakes him off. That moment is so incredibly cringy to me. first of all, it's borderline sexual harassment. Sorry, it is sexual harassment. And Anakin's almost comedic, shaking the ship is just like, really? Do we have to be doing this right now? I understand
I know.
I understand he's in love with Padme, and I understand Anakin's jealous. But do we really have to do it this way? Does it have to be this blatantly obvious?
Yeah, and I think to me, I got almost as many bad vibes. Like, I mean, I got almost as many bad vibes from Anakin's kind of almost comical levels of like over possessiveness. Yeah, just like how possessive he was, as I did from Rush Clovis's just kind of can't take a hint, can't take no for an answer, coming on way too strong approach.
Yeah,
it was just a sandwich
cringe.
of just ugh, why?
Yeah.
Worst moment for me, I think that's a good question. I think season 2 for me was kind of a season where there weren't too many highs, but also there weren't too many lows. But I might have to say the moment when Obi-Wan is talking to Suji and the other bounty hunters. She just gets so much wrong about the Jedi, and he just does nothing to correct her. That just I don't like that. It makes me sad.
Okay, I get it. Okay, let's move on. Best character (S) and worst character (S). I'm going to wager the best character this season. Yeah, you heard me. The best character this season is Cut freaking LaQuaine.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I would say that. I would be inclined to agree. I had Cut on my list. I created quite a few best characters because I couldn't really decide because I think much more so than season 1, this felt like a season that was kind of carried by the ensemble rather than by any one or two characters or any relationship between a couple characters. So with that in mind, I think I really liked Ahsoka. I think if I had to pick any one character, I think even more so than Anakin or Obi-Wan this season, it felt like Ahsoka was kind of the thread that connected so many of these episodes together. She had her moments in the Geonosis arc, lightsaber lost, the holocron heist arc, last week's episode as well, and the Boba Fett arc. So I think that she just was all over, and she just kept popping up. But I really liked that.
Yeah.
Plo Koon also, I really liked this season. Hera Synube only appeared in one episode, but I got an absolute kick.
So did Cut.
Yeah, I know. I got an absolute kick out of him.
I'd agree with you with Rex. Tara.
Yeah, Rex then Cut, obviously. And Satine for me. I really liked Satine. I think maybe she and Ahsoka actually are my picks for this season.
I think Cut and Tara are my picks. Actually,
Cut and Tara, and
they both had one episode to make an impact, and they both made such an impact.
I know they did purposely. I liked Satine because she's such a obviously like her and Obi-Wan, and just her for the sake of her as an interesting character. But she does her job so well, and part of that job is like just completely being an ideological foil to the Jedi, but one that does not bend or break. And we see that with Obi-Wan, how she remains firm in her beliefs, even though the Jedi are saying something else. And so many people, I think, in the Republic kind of like, oh, the Jedi, well, it is what it is, The Jedi themselves do that. And so I don't agree with everything she says, or almost any of what she says, as a matter of fact. But I admire how she sticks to her guns, and I admire how she presents such a convincing counterpoint to the Obi-Wan kind of reluctant warrior point of view, and kind of pokes some holes in that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Worst character (S). I got one if you...
I go for it. You go ahead.
Banamu. I love the episode Banamu.
Who was Banamu again?
He was the original guy who stole Ahsoka's lightsaber. Who is probably racist.
It just felt like kind of he hasn't had like it just felt like a caricature kind of.
Yeah,
like,
it was. It
just wasn't very interesting.
It made me very uncomfortable, and I'm like, really, dude? Yeah, Banamu for me.
For me, again, I'm gonna have a couple picks because I don't think there was any one character that stuck out like a sore thumb. but I'm gonna have to go with Grievous, Free Vizsla, and Karina the Great as my picks for the worst.
Oh,
Grievous,
jeez.
wasted potential. We never got to see him go hard. You know, I didn't want him to like he ran away from Obi-Wan. He ran away in Grievous Intrigue. Like we need more badass Clone Wars 2003 Grievous. Maybe not that level of just sheer overpoweredness of Grievous in the Clone Wars. Maybe we don't need that. But what we do need is we need some like strong Grievous. Like we need to see why Grievous is so feared, and that's just something we totally don't get in this season. I was let down by that. Similarly, I was let down by Karina the Great. I think the reveal, the build up, it was all awesome. But once she starts talking, you're just like, man, why is she how does she know English? Why is she talking with this raspy? It didn't do it for me. It didn't do it for me. And of course, Free Vizsla. It was supposed to be a big reveal that he was the Death Watch leader. Again, just totally undercooked. It didn't come off. It wasn't. It wasn't a surprise. We all kind of saw it coming, you know.
Karina's whatever for me, but Grievous and Vizsla really hurt me, honestly. I will make this argument for you. This is a hot take. This is a flaming hot take. Grievous Intrigue is the best episode of the Clone Wars for Grievous, in my opinion.
I could see that, honestly.
I know he's not a badass. He needs to be a badass. I do agree with you. But I think that episode explores his mindset more than any other episode in the Clone Wars, and I really appreciate that. Vizsla, I will always have a soft spot for that. For generations, my ancestors fought proudly as warriors against the Jedi. That speech is just so good. And I don't know, I freaking love Favreau and Vizsla and all that stuff, so I disagree with those, but I can see where you're coming from with both of them. Coolest new thing you've noticed from the rewatch?
You want to go first for this one?
Sure. I was thinking about this. I really like how different this season feels compared to season 1. Season 1 often to me felt like, okay, we're going to go to this planet, we're going to do this, we're going to fight this battle here, we're going to leave. We're going to learn something, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Season 2 is like, yeah, there's battles, but there's also politics. There's also a Godzilla arc. There's also Boba Fett. There's also, Mandalorians. Who are Mandalorians? Well, we'll just make up who Mandalorians are now. There's heartfelt episodes. There's political episodes, as I mentioned. There's suspenseful episodes. There's a little bit of everything in this season as compared to season 1, which is why I think it's a little bit more cohesive as a season.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I really felt and carried through this episode or carried through the season and made it great was the building sense of urgency and not necessarily political or military, but kind of a moral urgency to figure out what the hell is going on. How have we let ourselves come to this point? And just this sense of mourning in the little moments, like mourning what the galaxy has kind of become. You know, I think the theme of losing your way and being blinded by your ideology or by whatever throughout all the episodes really kind of ties it together. We see that in Deserter. We see that in the Geonosis episodes. We see that in the
Losing Their
Zillo
Way,
Beast
Jacob?
Episodes. Pardon?
Losing Your Way, Jacob?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we see it so much, and I just the Mandalore episodes, obviously, Satine and Obi-Wan so worried about losing each other, but then also losing their morals and losing their ideology and losing their respect for themselves. I just think that was something that just came up over and over again, and I think really what I'm getting from this is the idea of like, how do you keep your identity and your values intact in such a difficult time? And I really see now like how much moral injury there is coming out of that, and it's really kind of heartbreaking.
There's a quote from Lair of Grievous, the end of Lair of Grievous in season 1. In this war, a danger there is of losing who we are.
I think everyone everyone has that in season 2.
Yeah, season 2.
Voyage
of Temptation, the sarcasm of a soldier, the delusion of a dreamer.
Yeah, You're right there.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, very profound. Yeah, I definitely agree. Favorite planet? I'm gonna cheat a little bit here, if I may.
All right, go right ahead.
My favorite planet's not a planet; it's a moon, and that is the moon of
Ooh.
Concordia. I love the Mandalore plot sequences on Concordia are brilliant, and I love all that stuff, and that's why Concordia is my pick.
Yeah, for me, I am going to have to go with Geonosis.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna do that.
I know you just said you're tired of Geonosis, but I love the starkness of it from an aesthetic perspective. It's the perfect place for this massive showdown because it feels just like a crucible. Like there's no distractions. It's just the battlefield. It's just looking death in the eye, as we said in last week's episode. But I think beyond that, also, I really liked it in terms of what we saw of the Geonosians and just the promise that brought like later on in terms of like the Dr. Aphra comics and the egg laying and just I don't know, I feel like it lays the groundworks for a lot of really interesting and underrated material. So I appreciate it for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're adding a new sequence to Star Wars in a Galaxy retrospective episodes. Jacob and I have the season 3 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars episodes pulled up right now. I'm asking Jacob, and I'm going to do this myself, to go through the episodes and tell one of us, both of us are going to tell which episodes also include hostage crisis and Senate murders in this, because those are season 3 episodes we're most excited about. You want me to go first?
All right. Yeah, you go for it. What are you excited for?
I'm very excited for the episode Monster. I'm really excited to talk about Monster. That episode is an interesting episode, and it's a fascinating one. It's something we've never seen in the Clone Wars. And Monster is my pick for episode I'm most looking forward to next season. Jacob, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. The stories get kicked up another notch. The animation, it being all tied together, leading up to Revenge of the Sith. Obviously, although that is still very far off. I am super hyped and pumped for the Witches of the Mist, for the Night Sisters to kind of be brought in. I love the Night Sisters. I think they're fascinating and very misunderstood. So Jacob, also very excited for the Citadel as well.
So Jacob and I are both very excited for Night Sister stuff next season. It's going to be a fun season 6 of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Yeah. In the meantime, we're going to get to everyone's favorite part of Star Wars in the Galaxy. You know it. You love it. It's
1/4 portion.
On this week's episode, we're talking It's a Long Story. The 1/4 portion segment where we explain Star Wars badly to each other and have each other guess. Jacob, do you have yours?
Yes.
Okay.
I have not. So I got to give you a hint first. Mine is actually a book, so keep that in mind because I don't know.
Mine
if I've
is
done that
too,
before.
actually.
Oh wow! Okay. All right. A prodigal outsider is forced to choose between loyalty to his old university that he still loves despite getting kicked out, or his demanding and mysterious new boss.
Thrawn.
Which Thrawn?
Thrawn 1.
Oh no, it's Thrawn treason.
Oh, interesting.
It's Thrawn treason.
Interesting. Yes, I thought you were talking about Vanto.
Yeah. It could have been Vanto.
In 1. Okay. Interesting. Good one. You got me tricked there. Okay, this is a very, very, very vague one, so I can give you a little bit more detail if you need. After a ship explodes, people rally around a different ship for inspiration. Actually, let me clear that up a little bit. I'm going to add one phrase to help you out a little bit. After a ship explodes, people across the galaxy rally around a different ship for inspiration.
Ooh, man. Is this going to be... A ship explodes. People rally around a different... And it's a book.
It is a book.
It's a book. Oh, man. Can you give me what time period? Maybe I'm kind of lost.
I cannot give you the time
It
period.
may not have been a book I read. Cannot give me the time period. Okay. Oh, man. Is it Aftermath?
It is not Aftermath.
Is it one of the original Thrawn books?
It is not one of the... It is a canon book.
Is it canon book? Is it... Oh, man. I don't think I know. I might have to wave the white flag on this one. I'm sorry.
I got mine wrong. Don't worry about it.
What is it?
Light of the Jedi.
Oh no, I haven't read Light of the Jedi. Oh my
I
gosh,
haven't
read it yet.
I haven't completed it
Man,
either. But
I gotta read it now.
But now you see why I couldn't reveal the time period. Jacob. Now you see why I couldn't reveal the time period.
Yeah, I see. Oh yeah, I totally see why now. Yeah, I get it now.
Because if I said it was in the High Republic period, that would have narrowed your options down quite a bit. Okay, yeah. Next week we are going to be launching straight into Season 6 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. We got 2 brand spanking new episodes to watch from Season 3 of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Those episodes are ARC Troopers and Sphere of Influence. Until then, make sure to follow us on Twitter at In a Galaxy Pod, Instagram at Star Wars in a Galaxy. You can check our podcast out. You can listen to us. Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, we will be there. You can email us at swinagalaxy@gmail.com. Leave a review and 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts if you can. It really does help. Yeah, thanks so much for listening to Season 5 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. We've had a great time doing it, and we got some really exciting stuff planned for Season 6. I think until then, may the Force be with you always.